doing an example. Here we are. I'm not saying this looks any good, but it's just to give you the gist of what I would do if I was doing something like this. So I've got like a random background, and then I've got young Estelle, and then young Vice. Yeah, Joshua's going to be fuming, but then again he did drug Estelle, so. But you see, it looks all right because they're roughly anime, but it doesn't. They do look like different. They're from different things, obviously, because they are. And then let's see what I've done. It's called layers for a reason, because you can lay everything on top of each other. For example, I've got this effects layer, and there's this sort of image that I've got to go, and then I've smacked a little black layer on top with soft light on at 30%, so it's not too intense. And then I've grouped them together, and then if you put something like hard light, sorry, on here, and then like reduce the opacity of it, like you like so you will, but like, you know, that's the effect is like, you know, you can add extra stuff on top, basically, to give it more depth or whatever. I've just got random fucking images here. And then I've got another box here with a black layer with overlay on 10%, and a red layer with overlay 90%. I've grouped them and I put them on top to make it more like, oh look, it's like an evening shot, even though the original one was a daytime shot. And then you smack on Estelle and Vice. Joshua's going to be raging. And now they definitely look separate. I mean, one thing you could do, oh well, put them behind the layer, but obviously that looks insane. They've been to Turkey, look, on holiday. So then what you do, let's just start with Vice, or let's start with Estelle. What I've done here is I've copied Estelle, and then I've put a bunch of coloured layers on top, black, white and yellow, and I've grouped them together. So if I put this on, there we are, look. I'll show you what it is in total. So that's just Estelle by herself. Poor Estelle. What's this end of first chapter? That's just her again, but all of this stuff is clipped into this one. So first I've got a black layer. Can't say that. 70% overlay, black. And then I've got a white layer to help brighten it again, which is a soft light. It's usually soft light or overlay that you end up using. That's 50% white. And I've got this yellow one, which is actually blue, so it should be called blue. And you can see, like, that's, I'm trying to, you can go in any one of these individual ones, that's soft light 30%. And you just mess about until it looks right with the background. Like, obviously adding green ain't gonna look right because it's like evening, so you probably want a blue to help make it more like evening colours. And there's Estelle, that's what it was, and then that's with the effect on. And then you got Vice, looks totally different. But then Vice, I've got, again, there's just Vice standalone. I've got a black, a white, and this time I've got a yellow layer on. So if I put this on, look at that. It looks way more like it's part of the image. So the black is just like basically for contrast. And again, you can mess with the opacity and then the blend mode. Usually you want overlay for a black because it's more intense. And then soft light or overlay for white. It depends how brilliant you want it to be. And I mean that in terms of light brilliance, but also visual. I've switched that one to overlay look. And then Estelle had a blue layer on, but Vice has got a yellow layer because they were different images and they needed different treatment. See, blue layer is making him look way too cold, so I actually needed to warm him up to get him closer to Estelle's colour. So I used the yellow. And again, these are like, if I take off it's going to look crazy what I've sort of added. But then once you put the blend mode and the opacity, it does that. And then again, that whole group of them, I can do the whole lot. And I think it was on about 70% or something, was it? So it's about tweaking the layers. It's like the mixed blend modes and the layers and the color choices for every level. And again, I've clipped these to just that one character so I can treat each element in the picture differently. You can see there's the background. And then at the top of it all, you can put another layer of things on. So this one's got a 30% black overlay and 40% soft light with an orange colour. And that does that. And that's going to affect everything underneath it. So that helps it bring it even more together because it's applying this general more contrast, more orange throughout the whole picture. So then if we get this whole thing and just have a look, let's turn off all these groups of colour treatments and effects and things. Like, look at the difference there. Let me get them up here, look. Like, there's a huge difference. That, I mean, you can still tell, like, the art style is like, it hasn't got outlines as much. In Photoshop, you could probably add a stroke outline. You can't do that in Figma. So it looks more like this one. But in terms of the colours, these look like totally different. Obviously, it's massively stylized now to be like an evening scene. But even then, it's like, well, it didn't have to be an evening scene because I could turn off that background colour. But then I would have to change these colours because I purposely treated them to all be more like an evening scene. But you can see like the contrast values now and then the lighting all looks cohesive across the whole image because I've treated each thing individually and tweaked it. The intensities and the opacities and the choice of colours and the blend modes for each part. And it makes it look like one thing. So there we are, look. See you later.